adult friendships can be very difficult. But she literally looked at me and she's like, I have really high expectations of my friends. Like, if I'm going out of my way to love on you or to text you throughout the day or whatever, I do expect that back. And I told her, I do too. You're saying what I've been thinking and how I feel too. Obviously, there's a fine line in adults because we do need to offer grace. But I will tell you, it's very difficult when you have a friend who you're constantly loving on and cheering on and rooting on, and they're not doing the same thing back to you.
And there's no reciprocation. I have always told my kids, have 4 quarters, not 100 pennies when it comes to friends. Because at the end of the day, who are the people that are going to pick you up when your day is bad, when things are at its worst, when you don't have the energy and the effort to give? Who's going to give you the grace? And those are the people I choose to keep around. There's friends for a reason, a season, and life.
Right.
And I was told that once.
Yep.
Because I don't want to say lost. I didn't lose her. But as our lives went on different trajectories, we just grew apart. Like I said, I miss her. I really do. I would love to go have coffee. The thing is, we have nothing in common anymore, but I still love her.
Of course.
And I still wish every ounce of the best for her that I did then. I still wish that now. As adults, you need to go in and give it your all and just know that sometimes it might fall into that category, and that's okay.
Yes.
Especially those of us who make friends because of our kids.
I was going to touch on that. Sometimes life just sucks, and sometimes it freaking rocks. We will discuss all the things from family and real estate to travel and just life in general. So take a seat, or don't, you do you, and welcome to the Limbadass podcast. Okay, so I want to talk about friendships because I think we have an awesome friendship. I love that we keep it real. I was telling somebody just the other day, I was like, the best thing about Melissa is she can tell when I've had a really long day. And yesterday, for example, you texted me and you were like, hey, want a spa tonight? And I'm like, yes. And then you asked if we wanted to go to Taco Tuesday. And I was like, today's going to be a long day at the office. I was literally working for 10 hours yesterday. So I was really busy. I had a lot of people to get back to and stuff like that. So that is one thing that I love about our friendship. But we were acquaintances in high school. Like, we knew each other. So we went to high school together. We actually went to junior high together.
Yeah.
Because
we kind of like hung out in the same circle. I was like ran in the same circle. Like, I'm fucking 70 years old. We ran in the same circle.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Jesus. We hung out with like kind of the same people.
Yeah, we did. And even like you would come in and come out because you did have your people. You played soccer. I was a cheerleader. Like, it was good. But we really connected when I bought apples from your kid, of all things. So just to set the groundwork, how long ago was this?
Well, Abby's a sophomore in college, and she was in 6th grade when we went to Paris.
That is insane.
Yeah. So at least 9 years ago. 9 years.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because I feel like adult friendships can be very difficult. And here's what I mean. When you're a little kid, right, and you have play dates, like you go out on the playground, and kids who don't know each other, they look at a person and they're like, you look fun. Do you want to play? Like, right. If I would have gone up to you and been like, hey, do you want to play? My 32-year-old self, you would have been like, no, not with you. I don't like people. So I think it's very difficult to become friends as adults. So one, I'm very proud of us. But two, I had told you there is a girlfriend of mine that I have been hanging out with a little bit more recently, and I love her. Like, she's
very nice.
She is the sweetest, and it was really cute because you could tell the story how you walked in the other night.
What?
And what did her husband say?
Oh, her husband's like, how are you related to the we need to preface this.
Yes, I agree.
I had a 12-hour shift. 12 and a half hours worked. I'm literally in scrubs and a hoodie because I dress up for work and my Crocs.
Yes, you did have Crocs. I was going to say that.
And I walk in and she had texted me earlier in the day, hey, we're barbecuing tonight. Come over. And I'm like, are you sure you've got friends coming over? And she's like, hell yes. Literally, that was her response. Hell yes. So I'm like, Okay. What should I bring? Nothing. All right, cool.
First of all, you should always know that you're always invited, regardless of who's at my house. Like I could, yeah, no, absolutely.
But still, I didn't want to interrupt something important.
You're not.
And so I show up and I just sit down. The whole family is like, hey, and like I was meant to be there the whole time. And then I get up.
David serves her dinner.
Yeah,
and
I go over and I get pulled pork, which,
Yes.
by the way, don't like pork, but your dad, chef's kiss.
So good, huh?
Delish.
Yeah.
So I go and I get my pulled pork. I get my sourdough bread. And I go and sit down and I finish eating. And her husband looks at me. He goes, so how are you related? And I could tell he couldn't figure because I'm just part of the conversation. Her parents got up and hugged me. And I'm like, well, I'm not. And he's like, so you're not part of the family? And her dad goes, well, yeah, she is. And I was like, well, biologically, no, I am not.
Yes, I don't have the blood running through my veins, but
I just laughed.
But
I was like,
you are family. I mean, we do all the things together. I mean, it's very normal. I mean, you guys came over on Christmas Eve. Like, hey, we're stopping by. Okay, perfect. Come on over. Like, that's just how we are with our friends. And I'm so, so grateful for that. But I do think, I think it's definitely a little bit more common now than it used to be maybe when our parents were younger, because I do think that when our parents were younger, it was very all family. Like you only did certain things. You only celebrated holidays with your families and stuff. And I feel like now we're at a day and age where we talk about things like trauma and stuff like that. And so people don't feel as obligated to be around people they don't want to be around, whether it's family or not. So they invite the people that they want to be around. And I said this in one of my other podcasts, like during the holidays, especially, you should be celebrating the holidays with the people that you enjoy,
that you want
being
to be
around
with.
anyways.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I love that. Anyway, so we're hanging out. I don't want to say not new. They're not new per se, but they're new hanging out with us.
New to a regular hangout.
Love that. And so after you had left, so we all went out to the spa. We love the spa, by the way. Like it's our way to just decompress and just hang out and talking.
A lot of vacations are planned in the spa.
A lot of vacations are planned over brunch in the spa. Yes, for sure. And we're sitting there, and after they had left, by the way, they left at like 1:30 a.m. And the funniest part about it is I was not tired at all. I probably could have talked for another hour. Excuse me. And I am not a night person. So the fact that I even looked at my clock to see, I feel like I have something in my throat. I even looked at the clock to see what time it was because I told Connor to be home by midnight. So he walks into the backyard and I was like, hey, bud, I looked at him like, okay, good, you're home in time. Like, but it just didn't even resonate.
Didn't register.
And we're sitting there talking, and I called you the next day to tell you this. Something she said to me really made me think. I'm constantly told by my sweet husband, because I do get my feelings hurt and stuff like that sometimes, which is ridiculous. I'm 40 years old. I should have more control over my feelings. But David told me, no, he's like, it's perfectly normal for you to get your feelings hurt. He's like, but you can't just dwell on it. I expect a lot from people. I do. If I'm sitting here giving you my time and my energy, like I want the same thing back from you. And there are sometimes you can't, like, you can't expect that from everybody because not everybody's like you. But she literally looked at me and she's like, I have really high expectations of my friends. Like if I'm going out of my way to love on you or to text you throughout the day or whatever, I do expect that back. And I told her, I do too. I'm like, this is mind blowing to me because I've never had like this conversation. So I told her later on, I said, I love that you literally were like, these are my expectations. She's just like, wait, like, I didn't mean like in order to be my friend. And I'm like, no, I know, but you're saying what I've been thinking and how I feel too. And obviously there's a fine line in adults because we do need to offer grace. Sometimes we are going through things that we don't necessarily want to share with anybody. We just kind of need to get through it ourselves. And we have a very good friend of ours who, anytime something comes up or something is happening in their life, they do like to step back and they like to handle it internally. And then, here I come like, okay, are we good now? Like, can I be a part of this now? I want to help you work through the last part of this with you. And then at that point she will open up. But you have to meet people where they're at. But I will tell you, it's very difficult when you have a friend who you're constantly like loving on and cheering on and rooting on, and they're not doing the same thing back to you.
And there's no reciprocation.
So you, as an extroverted introvert, how do you feel? Because I'm so extroverted that I feel like, oh, well, I shouldn't say like if I I don't give expecting things
So
back.
back.
But I do if you're having a party at your house and I don't get invited, but then I have something at my house and I'm constantly inviting you, like my feelings do get hurt.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
So I have always told my kids, and my kids will tell you this, have 4 quarters, not 100 pennies when it comes to friends. Because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. Like, who's going to carry that casket? Who's going to be at your grave site? Who's going to be the ones that are actually going to miss you? Because you can have 1,000 friends, but when shit hits a fan and things get real, who are the people that are going to pick you up? When your day is bad, when things are at its worst, when you don't have the energy and the effort to give, who's going to give you the grace? And those are the people I choose to keep around. And if you're not going to be, but that's not to say I won't do the same for them. I genuinely believe that you need to keep good people close to you. And at some point, there's friends for a reason, a season, and life.
Right.
And I was told that once.
Yep.
Because I don't want to say lost. I didn't lose her. I just had a very, very close friend who we grew apart.
Sure.
But I realized that she was there for a season. And she and I had 2 little girls who were exactly the same age. And like literally their birthdays were 2 days apart.
Oh, that's funny.
And they even had the same name. By the way, we met after we had the babies.
That is hilarious.
But at this point, she had a little boy. And I was pregnant with Braden.
Okay.
So it was like our lives were on the same trajectory. I went into nursing school. She stayed home, and she now has, I believe, 7 children. God bless her.
Yes, she needs all the blessings.
Right, exactly. And she is an excellent mother. An excellent,
of course.
amazing, amazing mother. She really is. And I'm not just saying that like in case she sees this. She really is a wonderful mother, always has been, has patience. If anybody was meant to be a stay-at-home mom and homeschool 7 children, it was her.
And she homeschools.
And she
She's
homeschools.
a saint.
Right?
Yep.
Amazing.
But I love that. I do love that because as you know, I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to have a big family and stuff. But I was also meant to be a working mom.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm the same way.
Yep.
We'll touch on that one for
Yes.
sure. But with her, it really, to this day even, I do miss her friendship because we knew everything about each other. Like people thought we were sisters because we were always together. We were always doing stuff. I helped with her sister's wedding. Like we were we were so close. But as our lives went on different trajectories, we just grew apart.
Sure.
There's no ill will. But that's when somebody told me there's going to be a friend for a reason. And believe me, we all have that friend for a reason.
Sure.
The person who teaches you something.
Sure.
And sometimes that teaching needs to be that they're not a good person. And this is somebody you don't want to be friends with.
I know.
Or you don't want to be friends with people like that. Or sometimes it's a person who teaches you how to be more grateful, how to be a better friend. There's the ones
How
for
to
the
put up
season.
boundaries.
Yeah, how to put a boundary. Then there's the ones for seasons, and then there's life, And so I think people need to go in with the expectation that give your all in a friendship,
Yep.
but that person might fulfill one of those 3 roles.
Yes.
And if it's not life, is that unfortunate? Are you going to be sad? Are you going to miss them? Of course. Like I said, I miss her. I really do. I would love to go have coffee. The thing is, we have nothing in common anymore.
Right.
We don't.
Aside from the fact that you have 2 kids the same age.
2 kids the same age. And we have absolutely nothing in common. But I still love her.
Of course.
And I still wish every ounce of the best for her that I did then. I still wish that now. And I still love her like I did then. But we're just not. I wouldn't consider her an acquaintance, but I also wouldn't consider her a friend. She's in that weird little purgatory.
I know. We need to come up with a name for that or
I know,
something.
right? It's like, but that's the thing. It's like, as adults, you need to go in and give it your all and just know that sometimes it might fall into that category, and that's okay.
Yes.
Especially those of us who make friends because of our kids.
I was going to touch on that. Yes. Okay, so go down that road.
Yeah, so when your friendship stems from you and this person having kids the same age, being in the same age or class, whatever, being in the same sport, this and that, that's probably a friend for a season.
Right.
And they may become life. but there's a really good chance they're just going to be a season. And that's okay.
Sure.
Give what you have during that time because they grow, you grow, everybody grows and you change. And maybe they do wind their way back into your life down the road, or maybe they don't. But still, that doesn't mean like, oh, well, I know they're only going to be here for 5 years, 6 years, whatever. No, go into it and give 100% because as somebody who doesn't openly give to a lot of people, when I don't want to say chosen because that sounds really sounds really conceited. But when I'm putting the effort into a friendship.
But it is a choice. So that's okay. You don't mean it that way. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm like, choice is the wrong word.
Yep.
But when I have put the effort forth into a friendship and I get zero in return, I have no problem. And don't get me wrong, I will put into this friendship for years, more so than I probably should. And I will even give them chances without telling them like, oh, I'm giving you chances.
Right.
But I will give chances. But then eventually when I'm ready to cut you off, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. And so go into it and give everything you have, but also be able to step away if you need to. And know, like, let your heart hurt, let yourself be sad, mourn the friendship that you thought you had.
Yep.
But don't take that to another friendship either.
I agree because it can really taint that's a terrible word, actually. My bad. It could really,
but it does. It
taints it. Oh my word!
You didn't say moist.
That's true. Well, you did. I really think that it could, really affect future. And sometimes people get really jaded and stuff like that because of the friendships that they've had.
Yes.
Friendships, I use that word lightly too, because, true friendship. And here's the other thing too. I really like open communication. I really like when somebody comes to me and says, Lauren, you hurt my feelings. Or Lauren, I didn't like the way you did. Oh, I have a friend who came to me and was like, hey, it really bothers me when. And I'm like, oh my gosh, first of all, thank you. Thank you for feeling comfortable enough to even come to me about this because now I have the opportunity to fix it. And here's the other thing. If I don't fix it, then that's speaking volumes to you. And you need to listen to that, whether you're on the receiving end of that or the giving end of that.
Right.
So I think that there's something to be said about that. Going back to kid friendships too, it's really hard because I have now 2 kids who have graduated high school. One's graduated college. And, I did have a lot of friends because of my kids. I mean, and close friends too, who I still love and want the best for. But it's hard too when your kids aren't as close to the kids that they were in high school, right? So my son was really, really close to a couple kids. And, now that they're not so close, they're off doing different things and stuff like that. It's not that anything per se happened to them. It's just a matter of the circumstance. And it's like, well, then as a byproduct, we don't really talk to the families as much. And, and it does make me sad in the same token.
But that's the thing. That was a friendship for a season. And there is nothing wrong with having seasonal friendships, right? There is nothing wrong because you and that person were what each other needed during that time. Now, again, those friendships can transcend past, so we've got...
But I feel like there's a bad connotation with seasonal friends.
There is because people don't understand what it brings to the table because everybody's like, no, we're going to be best friends for life. Really?
Great intentions. Great intentions.
I don't go into it going, oh, I'm only going to be friends with this person for a season.
Of course.
But I'm going to put everything I have into this friendship. But if it dies out because of circumstance or whatever, it is what it is. On the flip side of that, I have some very good friends. Shout out to the Saldanias. And you've met them. Mike and Mia. They were friendships. They are a friendship that could have been seasonal. Our daughters played softball together. Our daughters were the pitcher and the catcher. So, the parents kind of like form a little bond. And next thing you know, we found our people. And we have talked about it. And these are people that I will go 6 months without seeing. And when we see each other, we pick up right where it was.
I love those
Nothing
friends.
Changes. It's exactly where it was. I could call her right now and be like, hey, I need to talk. She's on the phone. But if I don't call her for 3, 4 months, 5 months, she's not offended.
Right.
We cheer each other's children on. But our girls are not nearly as close as they used to be. Frankly, I don't know if they've talked in the last 6 months, but we still have a friendship. And that's a seasonal friendship that became a lifetime friendship.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
The only friendships that I really, really don't like are the ones that are there for a reason. Because 99% of the time, it's not a positive reason. They're teaching you something that you're like, oh, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
You know? And those are the ones where you get hurt and you get mad. And the only thing is, don't go back to those friendships because you long for what you had, not for what they did to you.
What this is. And it's funny because you even said that once you get to the point like you're done, you're done. I am very similar, as you know. The problem with me is it takes forever. Like I have to get burned like a few times.
Literally in the fire.
And again, I know. And I hate that about me, but I love that about me though too, because I am very forgiving. And David says that's the best thing about being married to me. One of the best things. He says that he also says a lot of inappropriate shit to me and I always forgive him. Do you remember that one time I was so pissed at him? I don't even remember what it was for, but y'all, I was not happy with Sweetie Pie. We're at Melissa's house and she's looking at me and and I told her, I said, I'm not thrilled with Sweetie Pie right now. And she's like, I can tell. And so David's like standing right there and he's looking at me and he's looking at her and he's like, listen, I say a lot of inappropriate shit to her. So if she's mad at me for something, he goes, it's usually something really good because she lets a lot of things slide. So I was cracking up and I started laughing right when he said that. And I'm like, you're right, I do. But one thing I don't do either is I don't hold grudges. So I know it's funny. I've talked to some people and they're like, oh, no, I hold grudges. Like I will hold a grudge for as long as you are alive. And
oh, yeah, no, not as long until I'm done with you. Until I've cut you off, and then I really couldn't care less. Like
that's funny. And now I'm at that point too with certain people where I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. Like I just don't care. And I told David, I really feel like when you get to the I don't care stage, I feel like that's worse than being hurt or being mad. Because when you don't care, there's no emotion behind it. So whatever they've done or could possibly do, I don't care. I always will say, you don't want to say this because this will piss this person off. I'm like, what are they going to do? Not talk to me? Like they don't talk to me anyways. Or what are they going to do? And I feel like I do have a lot of friends. I do have a lot of acquaintances and stuff because I love people and I love to love people. But in the same token though, when I get to that point, like, no, we're just done. I'm very indifferent with you. I wish you the best. And I forget who said it. Some rapper, probably Kanye West or something, I don't know, said, I don't want you to starve. You just can't sit at my table. And I get that. Like, I want to surround myself by people who build me up. We went to dinner for Shelly's birthday on Saturday. Oh, yeah. We had the best time. And my girlfriend, Lindsay, was sitting at the same table as I. Now, we're totally friends. We cheer each other on. I love her. She is amazing. She's actually a nurse too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we don't talk every day. Like, it's not like we're super close. I mean, I have her cell phone and my phone and all that stuff, but
I've never met her. There you go.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. You've never met her. She is the sweetest human. I mean, she is just lovely. She's a great mom. She takes very good care of herself. She loves her husband, like just an all around good human. And, we're sitting at the dinner table and I was telling her a story about something that had hurt my feelings because we were just talking about it. And she goes, Lauren, can I tell you something? And I was like, yes. She goes, I think that you are amazing. She goes, I am so inspired by you. She goes, I don't know how you travel and how you work and balance your family and balance work and do all these things. And I'm like, well, actually, a friend of mine, Matt Murray, he's a family friend. He's known the Lombatis family for years and years. He said, when you have a balance, it seems it's like a distorted view, right? Because you think everything should be equal, and it's not. And he's right? But you do the best you can. If something's giving a little too much, well, then you got to even it out a little bit.
Take care in there.
But the fact that she told me that she was inspired by me, like, I could have cried. I literally was looking at her and I'm like, thank you so much. Like, this has been weighing on my heart and you just said the right things to me and I'm so grateful. So I do think that you have those acquaintances that aren't necessarily there to be your best friend but they have your freaking back.
Yeah.
And ain't no better friend than a friend you've never met on social media. Those bitches will cheer you on.
They will support you.
They will love you. They will refer you to everybody. They will tell you that you're the best nurse ever. Like, whatever it is that you do. And it's like, those are the types of people that I really want in my life because I feel that I am that type of friend. I want you to win. And I tell Carson all the time, The reason, there's plenty of room for everybody at the top. You've heard me say this to him. There's plenty of room for people at the top. The reason why the top of the mountain is so small, though, is because they're not willing to do the work it takes to climb up the mountain. There. So it's like, I will work at a friendship. I am going to love you so hard. I'm going to call you all the time and invite you, and I'm probably going to suffocate the hell out of you. But if you don't tell me no and you keep coming to things that I'm inviting you to, well, and then when you have something, I do expect the invite.
Right.
And there have been relationships in my life where I have been left out. And that's what this girl and I were talking about. And the other thing I want to say about that is, I have 4 boys. So a lot of my friendships did come from my children being friends with their kids. And, now that we're at Carson and he's the baby of the family, and I have a lot of friends, through not so much Jacob, just because I think, he was shared amongst the four adults of us. But I have great family friends that were because of Jared. I have great family friends because of Connor. In fact, one texted me and was like, just because my boy's graduating this year, Connor has next year, but just because my boy's graduating this year doesn't mean that I don't want to be friends with you. I want to make an effort. Let's go have breakfast. So we're having breakfast tomorrow. But anyways, now that I got to Carson, it's like, okay, well, I have all the friends that I need. And then this beautiful human came into my life and I'm like, Carson, I'm so grateful for your friendship with this person's child, because now we have a whole nother family that we get to love on.
Right.
And so it's very cool, because I told you, I thought we were pretty much done with friendships, but it seems like I have something coming out of it.
I would say you know me.
You are not a people person.
But it's not even not a people person. Part of it's almost a curse, is that I'm very good at reading people.
Yes.
And I am going to see something today that you're not going to figure out for 3 years. So today I'm like, I don't like them. I don't like them. I can't put my finger on why, but I do not like them. And you're like, no, they're wonderful. And I'm like, just you watch out. And sure as shit, 3 years down the road, you're like, this is an awful human. And I'm like, yeah. And
literally 3 years.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I, on the other hand, have been telling you for 3 years they're an asshole.
I know.
But I'm the one who looked like the asshole the whole time, because they're out there, sunshine, rainbows, and beautiful, until they're not.
Right.
And so this particular person you're talking about, I, on the other hand, literally had gone home the next morning. I think my husband came home from work, and that's, by the way, why I was single momming it or not even single momming it. I was single ladying it at your house that night, because my kid was gone with his girlfriend, I think, or his friends, and my husband's at work. So I'm like, oh, well, okay, I'll take a dinner.
Right.
But I had told my husband the next day, I was like, no, this girl reminds me of me before I was a nurse.
And what did Jared say?
He goes, oh, so she's nice?
She's nice and likes people? That's what you said?
He did. He goes, oh, so she's nice and likes people? I'm all, yes, that's exactly. But she does. Like, she's very friendly. She's very sweet. She mentioned something about nursing, and I was like, in my heart, I was like, don't do it. It'll suck your soul out.
Yes.
But at the same time, she'd be like a great labor and delivery nurse. I would encourage like the mother baby stuff, so that she doesn't have like a jaded view on life. Because that's really, it's my job gives me such a jaded view, truthfully.
For sure.
But the thing is, it's very, very hard, because I probably don't have a lot of friends, close friends, I should say. I have very, very close friends, and that's it. I have people that I can trust. I could literally trust with anything, but I don't have a lot of acquaintances.
Sure.
And that's because I quickly can see who you are.
Yes.
And I don't want that.
For the record, when you tell me that somebody's a shithead, I'm like, okay, like I do take that in. Well, and I take it in and I'm like, okay, Sweetie Pie, same thing. He, years and years ago, I was newer-ish in my business. And there was somebody that I had met, and David was like, just like, and I introduced him and everything.
Snake.
They literally walked away, and he was like, just so you know, that's not a good person. And I was like, what? And literally from that moment on, I'm like, my husband says I can't play with you. I'm so sorry. I mean,
sorry,
not
we
really.
can't be friends.
But like internally, and he is so good about that. The other thing Sweetie Pie is really good at is letting me have my time with my friends.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good about that. Like, if you're like, hey, we really are internally little old ladies, because she'll be like, hey, do you want to come over or do you want to go have coffee and pie? And I'm like, yes, I remember the first time you invited me for coffee and pie. We went and sat at Polly's like two little old ladies on the patio.
Oh, and it's so good.
So good. But the most recent time was just like a week or two ago. And I was like, why don't you come over? Shelly made me some stroop waffles. We can have stroop waffles. That's how you say it.
Who made those?
Shelly made those.
I was wondering. They're really good.
When we were in Bryan Head, she was like, hey, she texted me, hey, are you going to be around? I made some stroop. They're called stroop waffles. You have to say it from the back of your throat. She was explaining this to me at her birthday on Saturday. And she was like, she's like, I made some for Sweetie Pie because I told him, that I would. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I tell Sweetie Pie that she made these for him, or do I just send Connor to go get them and then I eat them? And then so Connor goes and picks them up and I'm like, Shelly, you're the best human ever. And I kid you not, David comes downstairs the next morning and Connor has 2 or 3 piled high and he's sitting there eating them with the fork. And David's like, what are you doing with my stroop waffles? And he goes, I'm having them for breakfast. He's 16, by the way. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And David goes, you can't have stroop waffles for breakfast. And he goes, Dad, waffle is literally in the name of this. This is a breakfast item. And I said, what did you say?
That and a donut.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're probably equally just as sweet and just as bad for you.
Oh, those are so good.
But they were
and
so
good.
good.
I'm not a sweets person, so those were so good.
So instead of pie, I was like, do you want to?
Cinnamon.
It was so delicious. I'm like, do you want to come over for stroop waffles? Stroop?
Yeah.
I feel like I have to put a. Anyways, do you want to come over for stroop waffles and tea? And you were like, absolutely. So it was amazing.
Yeah, we are little old people.
It's okay. I like it. Anyways, thank you so much for coming back on again.
Of course.
I know it takes a lot out of you.
Well, the door is unlocked, so I could have left,
This is true.
despite the fact that I claimed it wasn't.
In between podcasts, I was like, do you want to stay for one more? Because I really want to talk about adult friendships. And she was like, can you give me a minute? Like, I just need a minute. And I'm like, that's such a you thing to say. But yes, I can give you a minute. So we're sitting here drinking coffee. I'm like, you ready? She's like, okay, let's go. So,
And I was convinced that the door was locked from the outside and that they had dropped me here all day without telling me.
she's like, you trapped me. I'm sorry.
I was like, Billy, am I here all day?
I know you're going to be really bummed when I ask you to come back next month so we could talk all the things. But thank you for being here, my friend. I love your face.
Thank you.